Hi, it's Sean Hannity. I'm with the Fox News Channel, and I have a nationally syndicated radio show on 500 stations, and you're watching and listening to Pavlina's Kidz Place. And I hope you tell all your friends.
Hey everyone, this is Pavlina from Pavlina's Kidz Place, and I'm on location here in New York City at the Talkers Convention with TV and radio host Sean Hannity. Hi!
What an honor to meet you. How are you? All right, so I've been to your website. I see all these big famous people that you interview, and I am so impressed. And you worked hard to get this interview, and I said I have to do it because I was so impressed at all the people she talks to.
Thank you.
I really am.
Thank you so much.
I want you to come work on my radio show.
I will do that. Right. I will fly
That's my
over.
Way of getting a softer interview.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome.
Did you actually prepare this?
I did. I looked you up and everything. I was on your websites. I was on YouTube.
Here come the tough questions. I can handle it.
Okay, good. So you started out in college with radio. Were you really good or were you hopeless?
Horrible. Horrible. No, look, radio is like any other craft. I love people that kind of say, oh, I want a radio show and I want to get paid lots of money. Like everything else, you really have to work at it, and it's a craft, and you develop your skills, and it's sort of like Outliers or Malcolm Gladwell. The more balls you hit, the better you're going to be. The more time you spend behind a radio mic, hopefully the better you're going to be. It took me a long time to develop, my skills, whatever they are, into, now I've been doing it since, 1987. Yeah.
Very nice.
I know, you're saying I'm old, right?
No, I'm not saying.
Called me old.
No, I'm just kidding. But I was talking to Ed Sheeran, and he was saying how he started out and he was just not good. So.
No, I was terrible. But I can tell you in the short time in this interview, you do something that I did not do very well in the beginning, which was listen and ask a question and let somebody answer. I used to always interrupt everybody.
Oh, really?
Well, how did you at 16 develop a love and a passion for broadcasting like this? Because she's the one that should be interviewed here, not me.
Well, when I was told to start your own radio show by this radio manager, he's like, oh, you should start. And I was like, okay. So Vince Carter, the basketball player, he's from Daytona, which is where I'm from. Right. And I interviewed him, and then I was like, okay, this is kind of fun, I like it, talking to different kind of people. And then that's how Kevin Jonas came to Daytona. I interviewed him, and I had to sneak in with a meet and greet.
To the Jonas Brothers. I mean, that takes a lot of diligent hard work.
We were having this, music festival, and he was the host of it or whatever. Right. And I snuck in with a media group, a meet and greet. Yes, it was not scheduled.
Let me interpret. She broke the law to advance her career. Okay.
Okay, it worked though. It worked, and
it worked. Now that's called initiative. All you young people out there, you got to take chances. And what you did is you took a chance. And you almost risked getting arrested.
I was 11.
Arrest 11-year-old. Good point.
Yeah. But I was. I told Johnny Wright, who is a really big, PR person. I was like, I have an interview with Kevin Jonas, and then he was like, oh, you do? And I was like, yeah. Yep, I do. And then he held the camera and everything. So
what a great story.
It was pretty crazy. Thank you. So how did you decide to stick with it, and where did you really find your niche?
Well, if you read my background, I got fired in 40 hours, so it wasn't exactly a good start. But I don't know what it is, Pavlina, because there's something when that red light went on that just started coming out of me. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it came from. But every time the light goes on, I know it's time to talk. I'm on, and it's time to perform. And now it's such a big part of me because I do it 4 hours a day, 3 hours on radio, 1 hour on TV, that I don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about it. I do a lot of time preparing the show. But like you've prepared, this interview, and it's not going to go anywhere like the way you think it's going to go, right? That's one thing you'll learn really quick. You can spend all this time preparing, and then it goes in a whole other direction. But I just liked it, and I said, I'm going to do this, and I put an ad. I just saw Erica Farber. She's right over there. I put an ad in her trade magazine, and I got a call from Huntsville, Alabama, and I didn't know anybody in the state, and I got hired over the phone, and I packed everything that I had into a van, and I drove cross country, scared to death. I'd never even done a 2-hour show, and by the time I left, I was doing the morning show and the afternoon show. So, just taking chances and risks like you did to meet the Jonas Brothers at 11, I'm more impressed with you, because I was 27, you were 11.
Oh, yeah, well, I was told, oh, you should start. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Congratulations, that's great.
Yeah, so it just really clicked with you, that's great.
It did, yeah, the light goes on, and, the other thing I would say, when I first did my first radio show, I was sweating, I was scared, I was panicked, my heart was going like this, I thought I was going to throw up. But I pushed through it. Got a little easier every time, but those first shows were really tough. the first time I gave a speech, I'm going to speak to, a lot of people today. I won't really think twice about it. I was scared to death. The first time I was on TV, I was like paralyzed with fright, scared to death. So the lesson of that, and I know you have a lot of young viewers and listeners, is that you gotta kind of, there's a book I never read, but got everything I needed out of the title, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
So yeah, right? You gotta stand at on the high board a few times in your life, and you gotta believe in yourself, and you just gotta take a jump.
Yeah.
And even though you might be scared, you might have butterflies, you might be fearful, you can't let that stop you. If I would have let that stop me, I wouldn't be having the honor of talking to you today. So.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like a lot of people stop, is like right with the butterflies and like, no, I can't do it kind of thing.
You got it, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have it anymore.
No. And like even if it is, it's like a nervous of like doing well,
Yeah, doesn't she have an effervescent personality? I mean, right? I bet. Do you ever get like down, or you're always happy?
I'm usually pretty happy all the time. I get kind of frustrated with security sometimes, but besides that.
Security, you mean having to surround you?
Like no, like when I'm supposed to go into an interview. Yeah. Like I was interviewing Ben Carson a week or two. Yeah, he's so nice. He's so nice.
Yeah.
And like I was outside the Barnes & Noble because they're like, oh, you don't have to come until like 12:30 or whatever. And I was like, okay, that's fine, because I like to be there early, so they know. Right. And they're like, the police officers didn't know I had the interview, and I was trying to tell them like, oh, the manager knows. And so that was kind of like, ugh, but
Yeah, well, but you still got the interview,
yes, yeah.
Right? You still pushed through that barrier.
Yes.
And you got to one of the biggest names, probably a crowd of thousands,
yes,
right?
Yes,
And there you were able to interview him. Isn't that great?
Yes, it was awesome.
And one of the things, if you don't ask, you just don't know.
Yes.
Like I read your email, I turned down about 99% of interview requests.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my God.
I do, because
Special.
he can tell you my best friend is here with me. And I do, but the reason I said yes to you is because you actually put a link to your website, you put a link, and you wrote the email in such a nice way. And I just really like the fact that young people are passionate about broadcasting, because I'm passionate about broadcasting. And the other thing is you're going to be, you're so young in this business. Do you want to go to school too at the same time?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so last year I went to a media and politics class in Columbia, and I fell in love with the school. And then this summer I have a month long at NYU, so I really want to go there. So it's like I want to put my
NYU. She's 16 years old. I went to NYU.
Oh my gosh.
I went there for a year.
Really? I want to what my plan is. I figured this all out yesterday. I said, okay, perfect plan would it be doing undergrad at NYU and then graduate at Columbia.
Oh, you Columbia School of Journalism?
Yes.
They will try and brainwash you there. I'll warn you ahead of time. Oh yeah, very liberal school.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah. I just
but
like
it's still
the school.
an Ivy League school. You can't complain if you go to an Ivy League school.
True. Very true. Yeah.
All right, back to the question.
So what has been like your big...
It was really going to be... I think I said 5 minutes. I think that was 20 minutes ago. Okay.
That's okay. So what has been like the biggest surprise in your career?
Boy, that's a really interesting question. And I've been thinking a lot about it lately, so it's interesting you're asking me. Look, I've been doing 2 jobs, radio and TV, for almost 20 years now. Longevity is a really hard thing to have in this business, and I'm very, very humbled and honored that I've had a successfully syndicated radio show and the show on the Fox News channel. But it's other things that you do that give me the most pride. Like we started this new program, Getting America Back to Work. We have 50 million Americans today living in poverty, 50 million Americans that are unemployed. And to me, that's unacceptable, because we're supposed to be a great country.
Yeah.
And I believe government is a big part of the problem. I don't think the government's the answer to all our problems. So one day I said that if I was out of work, I told people what I would do. I said, I'd get in my car, and I used to have a blue-collar background. I worked in restaurants, and I worked in construction for years, did every job imaginable. But anyway, so I said I would go to North Dakota and I'd work in the oil fields, because I was hearing they were paying people starting like $75,000 a year, which I think is a pretty good salary. And all of a sudden, 6 months later, people started calling me back. And they said, I took your advice, Hannity, and I drove cross country and I got a job. And I'm like, what were you making? I didn't have a job. How much are you making now? Well, I'll make $100,000 this year. And call after call after call came in telling me that. So I said, there's something to this. I said, I want to institutionalize this, and by that I mean I want to go out and partner with these oil companies that are looking to hire people. We would feature them on the radio and TV show, and we've got like 1,000 people hired.
Wow.
Now, I could talk about whatever success I have, but if I can help people and they're transforming their lives and they had no money and now they can buy a new car and a new house and they can take care of their kids, that makes me happy. Or like the Freedom Concerts where we raised, you know, $15 million, a scholarship fund for the children of slain soldiers. The fact that I can contribute a lot of money myself, because when I started out in radio, I made $19,000 a year.
Wow.
In Santa Barbara, zero. I was hanging out at a radio station for free for 2 years. So I never thought I'd make any money, but I did it because I loved it.
Yes. Actually, speaking of your Freedom Concerts, you have Charlie Daniels there frequently, and I asked him what sacrifices he had to make to get where he was today.
Charlie Daniels, too. Did you interview all my friends?
I must have.
Yeah, he made a lot of sacrifices, and here he is in his 70s, and he's probably going to perform 200 times this year. Amazing, right?
I know.
Yeah.
He's the sweetest. I've interviewed him twice.
You know what I want you to do is YouTube me with Charlie singing "The Devil Went Down to Georgia."
Oh my gosh, you guys did that? No way, really?
I did it about 10 times.
Oh my gosh.
And it's on YouTube, and it's very embarrassing.
Really?
So you can have more questions until we're ready.
So
She's so nice, right?
So the Bergdahl situation was kind of a big story, you know, and I interviewed Oliver North, and he talked about it, and he said, quote, yeah, and he said, quote, I think it was a terrible, terrible idea. So what is your take on it?
Horrible idea. I mean, you're looking at 5 of the worst terrorists. We had them in custody. I've interviewed many of the platoon mates of Bergdahl. By all accounts, he was a deserter. But with that said, I think we should try and get him home and find out what happened. But we've got to realize that there are some people, sadly, that there's evil in the world. And it's hard for good people to recognize or understand what evil is because most people aren't that way. But there is a sick, twisted ideology out there that thinks that God is, or Allah is in heaven waiting for them to kill innocent men, women, and children, and that they get rewarded for doing such. So that battle is ongoing. It's getting worse. I mean, you saw the video this past week. You have this new terror group, ISIS. They're assassinating people, literally just mowing them down, firing squads. You saw what happened in Kenya, 48 people, bodies piled one on top of another, slaughtered because of a twisted ideology. So we've got to be ever vigilant, and if we recognize they're a danger, then that means we can't let them go.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. So in 2016, I'll be voting for the first time, and like I said earlier, I talked with Ben Carson, and I actually interviewed Marco Rubio, and I saw you interviewed him in May, so that wasn't too...
I interviewed him this week, too.
Oh my gosh.
So we have all the same friends.
Yes, we really do.
Ollie North, Ben Carson, Marco Rubio. You've interviewed everybody. Wow.
So, what is your take?
In your career, apparently.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But like, what is your take on, like, are you first of all covering the presidential election?
Oh, yeah.
And
You know, I haven't decided. We have to see who's in the race. I want to see as many smart, bright people that believe in limited government. I have 5 things I want for the country. I want to stop robbing from our kids. That's all you young people out there. We now have $17 trillion in debt, trillion with a T, that you're going to have to pay back. We have $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities, meaning promises we made that we're going to have to pay over the years. So the first thing I would do is I say government needs to balance its budget. We can do that by cutting 1 penny out of every dollar government spends every year for 6 years. Very simple. It's called the penny plan. I want to become energy independent. That'll create jobs like in North Dakota and in Midland, Texas, and jobs all over the country because we have more energy, natural resources, oil, natural gas, with new technology, hydro fracking, horizontal drilling, that we can become energy independent in like 3 years.
Exactly.
And then we don't have to rely on countries that hate our guts, sadly, you know, for our energy. And the energy is the lifeblood of our economy. The third thing I want is a free market solution to Obamacare. How pathetic is it that we have a government that had 4 years to build a website, 4 years, and they spent $700 million and they still had a website that didn't work. Your website works, right?
Yes.
Did you pay $700 million?
No, I didn't.
No, okay. So I want to do that. I want to make sure that we control our borders because I don't want the enemies of America having free access to the country and having bad intentions for our cities. We've got to control the borders. And then choice in education. A lot of kids are trapped in failing schools. And so I would like to take the money we're spending, like in New York, it's $17,000 a student. Give the parents that money. Here's the money. Let the good schools rise up and compete for those dollars, and those parents will find the good schools. So I believe in freedom, less government intervention. I like more freedom for the states to decide on a local level versus the national or federal government. So those are some of my ideas. Yeah. Do you like them?
I love them. Awesome. Yes. Thank you.
Vice President.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
You know what? I am very impressed. It is really an honor to meet you. I'm so proud of all that you've done. I don't even know you until today, but you are an inspiration. For all you young kids out there, if you think you can't do it, look at Pavlina and what she's done and how she's done it. Amazing stuff. So that means you can do it too. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank
That was
you.
fun. Thank you.